On this episode of Coddiwomple Overland, we discover the best trail on the Cat. Stick around, you don't want to miss it. The morning of day 2, we woke up to blue skies and the sounds of nature. It had been a while since we were all together, so we took a little extra time around camp just to catch up. One of the things we had all missed was breakfast around camp. This morning was not going to be a disappointment.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for perfection. Who's this guy?
After some incredible burritos and some more socializing, we cleaned up camp and it was time to head out on the trail. Deb was always after the perfect shot. This one's no different. I'll let you tag along here for a little behind the scenes. I think she just went in over her boots. I know she just went in over her boots. And why don't you just lay down in it?
Maybe we need to get her bigger boots.
Little did we know this was going to be the first of many, many creek crossings throughout the day. The good news is, this was the only one that Deb almost fell into. Some of you may remember we put a rear Aussie locker in the Jelico. While this was no big test for it, it does show the difference in having a locked rear versus an open differential that Alan and Nancy had. You'll notice here we didn't spin at all, and Alan and Nancy had to work just a little bit to get through it. We couldn't believe how green everything was. It was a stark contrast to what it looked like almost 3 months ago, the last time we were out on the trail. Day 2 section of the trail seemed like it was going to be a little wider than day 1. However, there were a few narrow places. It was creek crossing after creek crossing, which was a lot of fun, but we really had to be careful because it was like rock crawling in the blind. There were huge boulders there, but you just couldn't see them. You kind of had to just hope you didn't hit a big one. You can tell this trail gets some traffic, but it doesn't get near the amount of traffic that other parts of the CAT get. While we didn't actually count them, there had to have been well over a dozen creek crossings on this section of trail. The further up the trail you got, the more technical the creek crossings got. You really had to take your time and pick your line. The water was clear, but it was moving so fast in places you just couldn't see what was in front of you.
Driver, nice and slow. Driver, slow. Slow down some. Slow down some.
Even Kelly's power wagon left his mark on a rock or two. Still amazes me every time we're out in the middle of nowhere and find things like this old structure here. Looks like it was an old cellar of some type. Looks like there was a house seat pretty close to it as well. This part of the CAT continued to impress us all the way up the trail. With every turn, things got a little better. It wasn't too technical, but it was just technical enough to keep your attention. And the beauty was amazing. I'm not sure why we hadn't heard of Clear Creek in the southwestern part of the Kentucky Adventure Tour, but you can bet we're going to be back.
We're using a bracket fungus to record what we have. You want to put Overland up here?
It's not just about driving. Sometimes you have to stop and take in a little nature and learn a little bit about art.
I'm not doing too good. I was trying to make a little house here. We'll pretend that's what that is.
And this will stay in it when it dries?
Yeah. Well, it's been a long time since I did this. We'll put another tree here so it looks like it. And another one off in the distance. Well,
There's water crossing after water crossing.
One other piece of advice, be sure and air down your tires on this section of trail. I know on the Cat you can get away with it for most of it to stay at your normal air pressure, but here you'll want to air down. It'll make your ride a lot better. At this point, we'd been on the trail for about 2 hours, and it was time to take our first real break. I know a lot of people will hit this trail and attack it like they normally do their daily life, and that's see how fast you can get it done. We take a little more scenic approach, and sometimes you just have to slow down and take it all in. After our break, it was on to our next obstacle. This one was pretty unique. There had been a big landslide, which pushed the creek over into the main trail. It had washed out a good section of it, but there was an alternate route around it. It was a little bit tight for the Jeeps, but we were able to get through it without any issues. Kelly, on the other hand, decided to show us how easy it was for a ramp. He backed down it. Okay, let's be honest. He just couldn't make the turn. And just like that, we popped out onto a strip mine, bringing an end to the best trail on the Cat. This area was an active strip mine, so please be respectful of that. Roads on a strip mine can change at a moment's notice. We stopped and talked to the guard and confirmed our way out. So this town is built in an old meteorite crater. After passing through Middlesboro, it was time for lunch. We found a nice roadside stop in the Cumberland Gap National Park. This was the first time that we had the chance to pull out our OVS 270 awning. If you look real close, you can see it still has the cardboard packaging. Even at that, it took me less than 2 minutes to put the awning out. We were ready for lunch. By this point in the day, the sun was beating down pretty hard. It sure was nice to have our own shade. Today was not going to be outdone by yesterday. Just like then, rain popped up out of nowhere, and then it was gone. After a few miles of scenic blacktop, it was right back on the gravel and dirt. This section of the trail brought us up onto an old strip mine. You can tell that it was a really old strip mine by the amount of growth and because of the cliff lines along the side. This was one of the old original contour mines of the area. One of the cool things about the old contour mines is occasionally you'll find these ponds like this. These are spring fed that's straight out of the coal bank. And like this one, occasionally they'll have fish in them. After a tour of the old mine, it was back on the blacktop, just in time for more rain and a trip through downtown Harlan. Land of the Hill People.
Okay. Do they have one leg longer than the other?
Yes.
Good luck, Kelly.
You need me to spot you there, Kelly? After some urban overlanding, it was on up to Pine Mountain to take a ride on the Little Shepherd Trail. It was a quick glance, but we got to see our first bear of the trip. The Little Shepherd Trail led us into the continuous state forest. While we were there, we came upon an old fire tower. This fire tower overlooked the oldest state forest in the state, as well as the surrounding areas. It was built in 1929 by the Kentucky Forest Service. The fire tower wasn't the only thing that was on the mountain. There was a ranger station here as well. You could still see some of the old remains. We spent some time looking at the old artifacts and wondering just what it would have been like to have stayed on this mountain years and years ago. We decided to guard the mountain one last time in honor of the people who stayed here and guarded the area in the past. After setting up camp, having an amazing dinner, and hanging out by the fire, we were all tired from the day, and it was time to call it a night. Thanks again for watching Coddiwomple Overland. Leave us a comment below and let us know what you think. Remember, like, share, and subscribe. See you on the next one.